those sci-fi movies, where people can just kind of control technology with their minds?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a pretty common trope.
Yeah.
But turns out that that future might be a lot closer than we think. And we're going to dive into that today.
Okay.
We're looking at some really cutting-edge research from Meta.
Meta.
Yeah, the folks behind Facebook.
Facebook.
And an article from Tom's Hardware that explains it all.
Right.
So basically, they're working on tech that can listen in on your thoughts and turn them into text on a screen.
Wow.
Pretty wild stuff, right?
Yeah, that sounds pretty wild.
So today, we'll find out, is this the end of keyboards?
Okay.
How does this even work? And what could it mean for us, down the line?
Yeah, down the line, for sure.
So what's really interesting to me is that they're using this technique called magnetoencephalography.
Magneto, Meg.
Mag.
Yeah, and it's not about, like, sticking electrodes, into your brain.
Instead, Meg measures these tiny magnetic fields that are produced by your brain's electrical activity.
So it's kind of like...
The eavesdropping on the electrical chatter inside our skull.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by analyzing those signals, they can start to pick out the patterns that correspond to certain thoughts, including, like, the actual words we're thinking.
Wow.
Yeah, so walk me through this. How do they actually translate those signals, from the brain into words that show up on a screen?
Well, it's complicated, obviously.
Yeah.
Involves a ton of AI horsepower.
Oh, I bet.
But think of it like this, your brain, it doesn't think in these, like, perfectly formatted sentences.
Right.
It's just like a jumble of ideas and images. And
just stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Abstract concepts.
Floating around.
And this AI system that they've developed, it's trained to recognize those subtle patterns in the brain activity that correspond to those building blocks of language,
So it's like more than just picking up individual words. It's about understanding the structure. Yes.
Of how we think and communicate.
Exactly. So they've discovered that our brains process language in this hierarchy, starting with a complete thought.
Okay.
Then break it down into sentences, words, syllables, and then finally individual letters.
Wow. So it goes like all the way down.
All the way down.
From the whole thought to the tiny little letter.
That's right. And this hierarchical system, it's a really big deal for AI development.
Oh, how so?
Well, it gives researchers a blueprint for how to design those AI systems that can understand and generate human language more effectively.
I see. So by learning how our brains do it,
Yeah.
they can make AI that's better at it too.
Exactly.
That's really fascinating.
It really is.
It's like they're cracking the code of our internal language.
Yeah.
But the article mentioned that this technology, it's not exactly ready for prime time just yet.
Well, yeah.
Is that right?
Right now, the system requires just this massive, expensive Meg machine.
Okay.
And a special shielded room.
A shielded...
Yeah, to block out the Earth's magnetic field.
Oh, wow. So it's not like I could just buy one at Best Buy.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah. Okay, so it's definitely not something you'll be plugging into your laptop anytime soon.
No.
Okay, but even if it's not, like, hitting the shelves next week, this still feels like a major step forward.
Oh, for sure.
Like, what kind of accuracy are we talking about here with the tech in its current form?
It's around 80%.
80%.
Which is impressive because, remember, it's non-invasive.
Right.
So it's not reading your mind, in the sense that it can pick up every fleeting thought.
Gotcha.
But it's a pretty good indicator of where this could be headed.
Yeah, 80%. Even with all those limitations, that's pretty remarkable.
It is.
And just so we're clear, they're not planning to actually sell these giant Meg machines to the public.
No.
Right.
Meta's been very upfront that this is more about scientific discovery than creating a product.
So they're really trying to just understand the fundamentals of how our brains
work.
Process language. But, I gotta say, the potential applications here seem vast.
Oh, yeah.
Even beyond typing.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, imagine being able to help people with disabilities communicate or create art.
Yeah.
Or controlling your smart devices with your thoughts.
That's right.
I mean, it sounds like science fiction.
It does.
But in a good way.
In a good way.
But, if we can control things with our thoughts, what does that mean for privacy? Like imagine somebody hacking into this tech and they can just access all of your innermost thoughts.
Yeah.
It's a little unsettling.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that leads us to the ethical considerations that need to be addressed as this technology develops.
Right.
We need to be thinking about who has access to our thoughts and how we protect that privacy in a world where our minds are, increasingly connected to technology.
So this is really raising some serious questions.
Yes, it does.
That we need to figure out the answers to.
Yeah, researchers, policymakers, society as a whole, we all need to think about these things.
It's clear that Meta's research is opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah.
We've seen how MEG can be used to decode brain signals.
Right.
And how AI can be used to translate those signals into language.
That's right.
And we've even just touched on those ethical concerns that arise when technology starts to blur the line between our thoughts and, the digital world.
It's a brave new world.
It really is.
It's important to remember, though, that this is still very early stage research, but it is a fascinating glimpse into a future where our minds might be the ultimate interface.
And that's where we'll leave part 1 of this deep dive.
Okay.
We've laid the groundwork, explored the tech and kind of touched on some of those big questions that are still out there.
For sure.
So in part 2, we're going to explore those questions further, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into the potential impact of thought-to-text technology on our lives.
Sounds good.
So welcome back. Last time we were talking about Meta's research into this thought-to-text typing using AI and that MEG tech.
Yeah, MEG.
We talked about how it works, the potential it has, but we also brought up some pretty big questions about privacy and what it means, to connect our minds with machines.
For sure. Those are big questions.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that this is still early days.
Very early.
For this research. But it's not too early to start thinking about these issues.
Definitely not.
And one of the things that I think is the biggest concern for a lot of people is privacy.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, if this tech can really read our thoughts, where do we draw the line?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right now, they're focused on decoding specific types of thought, like the words we use to make sentences.
Right.
But as the technology gets better, it's possible that it could become more sophisticated, capable of, capturing a wider range of our mental activity.
Yeah. So it's not just the words we're thinking.
Right. Exactly.
But it could be anything.
And that raises questions about, what happens to our private thoughts, our daydreams,
Yeah, like all that stuff that's going on in our heads.
Yeah, all that inner monologue.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary thought.
It is a little bit.
It's like we're entering this new world.
It is a new world.
Where the lines between our minds and the digital world.
They're blurring.
Yeah, they're getting really blurry.
So we need safeguards to protect our mental privacy in this landscape.
What kind of safeguards do you think we need?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to require a lot of thought from everybody, researchers, policymakers, ethicists,
Yeah.
We need to establish some guidelines for how this tech is developed.
Okay.
And used to make sure individuals have control over their thoughts and data.
I mean, it seems like a pretty basic, right?
It does, doesn't it?
To be able to control your own thoughts.
Yeah.
But, I'm also a little bit worried about misuse.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, imagine this tech in the wrong hands. Could it be used to get information from people against their will?
Potentially.
Or even manipulate their thoughts and actions?
Yeah, it's not something we can just ignore.
Right.
I mean, any tech this powerful, it can be used for good and bad.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
It is. It's like fire, know?
Uh-huh.
It can keep you warm, cook your food.
Yeah.
But it can also burn you if you're not careful.
So how do we make sure we're being careful with this?
Well, I think we need to be aware of the risks.
Okay.
And try to, take steps to mitigate them.
And what might those steps look like?
Well, I think we need regulations, ethical guidelines, strong security measures to prevent unauthorized access, and clear legal frameworks.
So basically a whole new set of rules.
Pretty much, yeah.
For this age of mind-reading technology.
Yeah, we're entering a new age.
And it's not just about protecting privacy.
No, it's bigger than that.
There are other social and ethical things to think about.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, imagine a world where employers can use this tech to screen job applicants.
Based on their thoughts.
Yeah, like, are you thinking the right things?
Exactly.
To work here?
Are advertisers tailoring ads to our subconscious desires?
That's a little creepy.
Yeah, it is a little creepy.
It's like they know us better than we know ourselves.
Yeah, and that raises questions about fairness, discrimination, manipulation.
Right.
These are things we need to be talking about.
And what about the impact on human interaction?
Yeah.
Communication.
That's a big one.
If we can just express our thoughts directly without needing words, does that change how we connect?
It might.
Will we understand each other better, or will it create new kinds of misunderstanding?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's a whole new world of communication.
It really is.
So it seems like we have a lot to consider as we move forward.
We do.
It's not just the technical challenges,
right,
but the social, ethical, legal implications.
All of it.
This is bigger than just science.
It's societal, and it requires dialogue, collaboration. You know, we need to involve everybody.
I like that.
Scientists, engineers, ethicists, policymakers, the public.
Yeah, everyone needs to be a part of this conversation.
Exactly.
So we can shape this future responsibly.
Right.
But let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
This tech is still in its early stages.
Very early.
But it's evolving quickly.
Rapidly.
And it's never too early to ask the hard questions.
I agree with that.
Welcome back to the show. So in the last two parts, we really dug deep into this thought-to-text technology.
Yeah.
We talked about, how it works and the potential benefits.
The benefits.
And, of course, all those ethical questions.
Yeah, all the big questions.
Yeah, so now I want to kind of shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And really step into the realm of speculation.
Ooh, speculation.
Yeah, so let's imagine for a second that this technology just advances so much. It's reliable, it's affordable, it's everywhere. What are some of the wilder, more futuristic applications that we could see?
Well, one that immediately comes to mind is accessibility.
Okay, accessibility.
Yeah, imagine people with disabilities who can't speak or move being able to communicate effortlessly using this tech.
That's incredible. It could really change their lives.
Yeah, it would be transformative.
And it's not just about communication.
No.
Right.
Think about prosthetics.
Oh, yeah.
Like thought-controlled prosthetics.
So someone who's lost a limb could mentally control a prosthetic with the same ease as their natural limb.
Exactly, like it's an extension of their body.
Wow, that's an incredible vision.
Yeah.
So we've got communication, we've got prosthetics. What about the arts?
Ooh, the arts.
Yeah, how could this revolutionize artistic expression?
Well, imagine a composer who can just think of a symphony and it's instantly transcribed into a score.
Without even touching an instrument?
Without ever touching a piano.
That's amazing.
Or a painter visualizing a masterpiece and having it appear on a digital canvas.
Just with their thoughts.
Just like that.
It's like you're bypassing the physical act of creation and tapping into pure inspiration.
Exactly. It could unleash so much creativity.
And what about education?
Education. Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. Could this change how we learn and acquire knowledge?
Think about a student who struggles to write.
Okay.
They could just articulate their thoughts effortlessly using thought-to-text.
Oh, that would be a game changer for so many students.
It would.
Or imagine being able to learn a new language.
Oh, wow.
Just by downloading information into your brain.
Now that sounds a little sci-fi.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But is there any science behind that?
It's still early days.
Okay.
But researchers are looking into ways to stimulate the brain to enhance learning and memory.
So it's not totally impossible?
Not totally, no.
Okay, well, let's take it one step further.
Okay.
What about telepathic communication?
Ooh, telepathy.
Yeah, is that something we might actually see?
Well, if we can decode thoughts into text, is it so crazy to think we could decode them into another person's mind?
I mean, it sounds crazy.
It does sound crazy, but it might be possible.
That's a world I can't even imagine.
Yeah, a world without words.
Silent, instant communication.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is. Who knows what other applications are out there?
Yeah, who knows what the future holds.
I think it's safe to say that we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
A lot of ground.
Yeah, we started with how this tech works.
Right.
And we've gone all the way to telepathy.
It's been a journey.
It has, and it sparked a lot of questions.
A lot of big questions.
About what it means to be human in this age of technology.
And as with any powerful tech, there are risks and opportunities.
We need to think carefully about the ethical implications.
And shape this future responsibly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
yeah,
I want to leave you with a sense of wonder.
Wonder.
But also a call to action.
A call to action.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Explore the possibility. And most importantly, engage in the conversation.
Yes.
About how we want to shape the future of this incredible technology.
Because it's coming, whether we like it or not.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.